Hi everyone, so let's cover today's editorial analysis of the newspapers for today. That is the 20th of January 2017, and this will be presented to you by me, Dipanshu Singh. So if you wish to read more about me, you can go through this slide. You can also follow me on Academy on this link to get updates on my courses and on my videos, and do rate and review the course and recommend it to your friends. So the agenda for today is we'll be covering these 4 articles, 2 from the Hindu and 2 from LiveMint, none from the Indian Express today as well. So the question for answer writing practice for today is, despite being rich in natural resources, African continent has widespread poverty and underdevelopment. So examine the causes. So answer this question on the Unacademy Discuss site and use that site to answer your questions on the particular thread of the day. Now, the first one is regarding the critical analysis of the Startup India scheme and what are the issues plaguing the scheme. So very interesting article in LiveMint, and generally UPSC has been asking questions on schemes related of Government of India. So you need to analyze the schemes both with their issues and the way forwards. So 12 months after the launch, very little movement has taken place and very little has been taken forward. So only a few startups have actually bought this plan because there's a fundamental design flaw with this particular scheme. So what are the fundamental problems with the scheme? We'll look into them in detail. The first and the biggest issue is of the fund which was earmarked for this, rupees 10,000 crores, which was with the SIDBI, was supposed to basically SIDBI had to invest these in the venture capital funds, and then these venture capital funds had to invest these in the startups. But then the biggest issue with this, that the fund dispersal is an issue. Hardly a few venture capitalists have taken out these funds, because the issue with this is that the banks will, the bank, SIDBI will actually contribute only 15% of the fund. Rest 85% have to be raised from these venture capitals, which they haven't been able to do due to the market sentiments and the global prospect of the slowdown in the economy. So the other issue is regarding the registration requirements of the venture capital fund with venture capital funds, and these firms basically have to register with SEBI. So a lot of them are not registered with SEBI, are not too comfortable in getting registered with SEBI. So that's one of the issues. The other is that the government's flip-flop rules on investments by the venture capitalist firms to invest half of the sum into startups and then rest in mature firms. Earlier there was a lock-in that the firms cannot invest, that they can only invest in startups and not in the mature firms. Then there were not many takers for this. Then finally the government had to give this freedom to the venture capitalists to invest in the startups as well as in mature firms. The other one is that the government has received only about 1368 applications. Of this, only 502 were recognized as startups by DIPP. So there's a lot of bias and discrimination on recognizing them, and there's a lot of scrutiny finally in the final stages to allow the tax benefits to these firms, which is very limited to a handful number of startups. And the other is extension of tax holidays actually under the schemes. So there is a common notion, which is a false notion, that these startups, as soon as they are funded, will actually get profitable in certain period of time. Most probably they are thinking that within the first 3 years they'll become profitable and they won't have to give these tax benefits. But that is not the case. This extension even is given to certain central firms beyond 5 years, which is taking a toll on the government's funds. So by all this, government has actually is demonstrating that it hasn't learned really from its past experience and history. So that is one reason, if you look at the past experience, that the micro, small and medium enterprises are not doing that great, and they haven't been able to thrive because there's too much of government interference with market mechanisms, and there's obviously this irrational funding cannot help in the long run. So therefore, a more rationalized approach is required. The potential, the only positive was that the potential of the industry academia partnership to fund new incubators has seen actually only sluggish progress. So this was a good idea which could have been implemented, but again only sluggish progress in this. And then therefore the government needs to give more fillip to research and technological high quality research and development of technology in the country, with increased private sector's participation. That can only make this scheme successful. The next one is regarding the Safe Childhoods for a Safe India. So this is about the labor reforms and the ILO convention. So some statistics that 4.3 million children in India wake up to a day of labor and not to school, and another 9.8 million are officially out of school. So you can use this line to basically start an essay sometimes if they are related to labor-related laws or any social issues. This can also be written in your mains answer writing, which can fetch you extra marks. So these kind of lines can actually give you that brownie points in examinations. So why this child labor is a ringing concern? Because it perpetuates illiteracy and poverty. It is actually a root cause of organized crime, drug trafficking, human trafficking, and terror groups. And India recently ratified this ILO Convention 182 on worst reforms of child labor and Convention 138 on minimum age of employment to curb the menace of child labor. But the main bottleneck for this ratification was addressing the forced or compulsory recruitment of children and appropriately raising the children's age from 14 to 18 years through the Child Labor Prohibition and Regulation Amendment Bill of 2016. And therefore, these two conventions are part of the 8 core conventions labor. Other 6 relates to the right to form associations, collective bargaining, forced labor, abolition of forced labor, and equal remuneration and discrimination convention. So as a matter of urgency, the government will take immediate and effective measures to prohibit and eliminate the worst forms of child labor. But the issue is that under the provisions of this ILO Convention 182 and 138, India will not adhere to a fixed deadline, but by which the worst forms of child labor must be eliminated. So therefore, it ultimately depends on the level of moral courage and the public concern and the social empathy. And also a lot depends on the political will and the implementation of resources invested in the development and protection of children. So eventually it comes down how government wants to take it forward, how politically motivated they are, and what kind of political will they have to implement these reforms. And some of the worst forms of child labor, basically the child slavery, including sale and trafficking of children, debt bondage, forced recruitment to armed conflict, child prostitution and their uses in pornography, use in illicit activities such as drug trafficking, exposure to hazardous work are some of the major areas of concerns for the government and the civil society. So what needs to be done? So the experience of Nobel laureate shows that the social changes don't happen overnight. This is regarding Kailash Satyarthi, and but it also involves the government resolve about the steadfastness to move into singular direction with sincerity. So they need to focus on the reform plans, and they need to take and do this with sincerity. And the government also has to show steadfast and a strong resolve to uphold the rights of our children, and so must we. So it depends on us as well, and investment in children is the investment for the future. So that's what the government has to look into. The next one is regarding the limits to popular sentiment. So this is about the Jallikattu ban. So as you know, there has been a popular uprising in Tamil Nadu regarding, and the sentiments are all flying over regarding the Jallikattu ban. So this is all in the name of culture, pride and custom tradition that the students and youth specifically have risen up in the state of Tamil Nadu. So basically this show of solidarity has been mostly peaceful, in sharp contrast to the aggression shown by some of the enthusiasts on social media who are asking for a ban against these people for ethical treatment of animals, this NGO. So if you compare the past sport of Jallikattu with the present form, it is relatively of recent origin, and it is intended to make bulls run amok for the sake of spectacle. I know a lot of people won't agree to it, especially our South Indian friends, but this is the case right now. They are not taken care of in a proper way, and there are a lot of issues. Even the spectators' security is one of the major concern. And instead of the traditional form of one man against one animal, in the present form, Jallikattu is a mass participant ritual of hundreds of men chasing a bull and trying to hold on to its hump or stop it by pulling or twisting its tail, which actually creates problem. It affects the psyche of the animal, and its earlier form was different from the present form. It has reformed. It has actually reformed not for the good, for the bad. This present form Jallikattu. So no offense, guys, but then this is the reality. I seriously want the sport to continue, but then it has to be reformed for the larger good of the public and for the animal and the prevention of cruelty against animals. So if you look at this present issue, few other feudal traditions have also survived in modern progressive India in the name of masculine valor and cultural pride. So why was this ban implemented? Because in previous attempts, the Supreme Court has given a lot of opportunities to the Tamil Nadu government and that too in 2013 under the watchful eye of the Animal Welfare Board of India, and the onus was actually on the state of Tamil Nadu to reform this and make changes to regulate the sport, but it failed in doing so. So therefore, this ban had to be taken by the Supreme Court, and this ban had to be applied by the Supreme Court. So now efforts are basically to trying to nullify the effect of the Supreme Court judgment through an ordinance route, where the Chief Minister of the state met Prime Minister Modi regarding the ordinance option. So even the state governments can actually issue an ordinance which has to be, obviously, if it affects the larger community, it has to be ratified by not ratified, but has to be given assent by the President of India through the governor of the state, obviously. And therefore the government, actually what the state government and the central government needs to do is to persuade the court to reform the sport and ensure safety of the spectators and eliminate cruelty against animals. And it is all right, it's good at one place that the popular sentiment can influence legislation, because if you look at the Nirbhaya case, that the uproar and the uprising actually forced the Verma Committee to take reforms and frame guidelines against against rape victims and rape violence, and obviously to ensure safety to women. So similar to this case, this popular uprising, sort of uprising, can influence legislation, but it can definitely not undermine the rule of law. The next one is regarding making cities safer with public transport. So therefore, very few points in this which are useful, but then otherwise the article was nice. So there's an intimate relation between safe and secure public transport, women empowerment, women participation, and gender-based development, gender balanced development, in fact. So this line also can be used in your answer writing questions. And these examples actually illustrated well. If you look at the case of Ahmedabad in context of the gender mainstreaming in public transport, it revealed that the women tend to take longer routes rather than crossing a neighbor that is desolate or poorly lit. And if you look at, there were certain reports in previous editions of the Hindu where it highlighted that there are a lot of blind spots in Delhi NCR specifically, where women find it a little difficult and are scared to go through those alleys because they are unlit or poorly lit pathways. So similarly, when government of Bihar distributed free bicycles to girls in 2007 in a bid to encourage girls to continue secondary school, female dropout rate reduced drastically. And it shows that by securing transportation needs of the poor who cannot afford private vehicles, one can actually ensure participation in civic affairs. And Vienna also considered gender-based city planning to increase women participation. This is an example from Global Arena. And then obviously International Labour Organization data shows decrease of women in workforce from 35 to 25% from 2004 to 2011. So therefore, better transportation facilities were one of its reason. And safe and secure cities does not mean more CCTVs, cameras, or women-only buses, but cheap and efficient public transport system ensuring last-mile connectivity to be used by every socio-economic class. And mainstreaming and not exclusion in public space is a catalyst for women empowerment. So this specific two lines are very important in the context of Delhi NCR, where there's a poorly organized and poorly managed inefficient public transport system. Just by increasing the CCTV cameras won't help the cause. Obviously, it will help help a little bit, but not obviously in the long run. So therefore, we need to reform this public transport and use it as a tool for gender empowerment. So this is it for today, guys. I hope you liked the video. Do let me know your suggestions. So till next video, thank you so much and have a good day.